All right, we are live. Episode 8 of Scorch the Fears. I got Kevin, I got Juan here. I'm going to figure out a way to make it where we're looking good. This is probably the best way to do it. If you're on Instagram Live, I'd suggest going to YouTube because YouTube will not be reverbing. Instagram Live will be reverbing. There's the link. That's what I recommend. If you're on Instagram Live, deal with your life because we're going to be looking at this screen. But my guys, how you guys doing?
Great. What's up, Jonah? Thanks for having us.
Dude, I'm so glad you guys are on this. That makes me so happy. Like you guys, I remember were probably the first people in the Bay Area who were just like, hey, we should get lunch. We should hang out. We should actually get to know each other so we make a really good business relationship. And I mean, now we're doing a flip together. We're planning to do more. We got that wholesale deal. It's looking good. I love it. So first off, start with how do you guys know each other? How did your two business relationships start?
Yeah, I can go. So prior to getting involved in real estate at all, I was a part of a marketing company. And through that, we would do a lot of prospecting. So I would actually go to 3+ events a week, Eventbrite or meetup.com, and I would look for events that would interest me. And I would go to these real estate investor meetups and, learning more about how to get involved in real estate. And I actually met a good friend of mine now that was actually doing a flip in Redwood City. And I ended up going to check out one of his projects. And then Kevin was actually there as well. And they were talking about an opportunity. And then we connected over Instagram. And yeah, we kind of just hit it off from there.
I love it. And then now Juan, do you own the brokerage with Kevin?
I'm a partner. Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. So guys, just to introduce them, they both own a brokerage. They both are doing flips. They're both doing Airbnbs, which is just insane. How long have you guys known each other?
Less than 3 years.
Less than 3 years, and they own a brokerage. How many Airbnbs?
We have 7 homes right now that we have listed in the Bay Area.
Homes.
Mm-hmm. Bay Area, yeah.
These are Bay Areas, guys. We're dealing with $1 million+ homes.
Yeah.
Insane. I love it. So I'll start with you, Kevin. How did you get into real estate in general?
I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18, I would say, right? A lot of startups, co-founded a bunch of companies, did multi-level marketing. And I think it was just more like a challenge for me, doing sales. Mm-hmm. Give me a second. It's echoey over here. I don't know where
it is a little bit echoey sometimes, but we can do it where if it's too much echo for you guys, you can just leave the live. The live is the kind of thing I'm trying to figure out technically. I wish this just streamed live.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me give you a second, okay? All right. It's good now. Okay. Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18, I would say, right? Dropped out of college. And I think doing a series of selling different things from knives to vitamins to shoes to cars to cell phones to banking. I think it all tied into okay, I need to do something more challenging where I feel good about something when you accomplish it. And I think it's real estate, right?
Yeah.
The largest investment most people make and most expensive investment most people make in their life. And you want to be a part of it. And so I gave it a stab at the age of 27 and fell in love with it. So I dropped most of my previous ventures and transitioned those into real estate as well, into development investments. So it's all, tied into one thing I really want to focus and be really good at. Yeah.
Nice. So was it Rich Dad Poor Dad? What even turned you on to real estate, or what made you even look at it in the beginning?
I think it's a calling, I would say. It's not I think it's just a calling overall, trying to figure out what to do. Well, prior to me getting my real estate, I tried taking the serious exams to be a financial advisor, and I realized it wasn't for me. Yeah,
right. That's what real estate is way more fun, and you make way more money.
And I had no other option. I feel like real estate is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Juan?
I think that real estate was always, I mean, I did read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was the first book that I ever read in personal finance, personal development. And I just realized that, you know, there's a game, right? That it talks about how you can be on the right side of the quadrant or on the left side and being able to build a business that eventually can pay you or have real estate or even stock portfolio, et cetera, something that can multiply without you trading your time for was something that was always intriguing for me. I think the biggest challenge for me was, you know, growing up and having a mentality of like coming from not much and not knowing that it doesn't actually have to take that much to get into real estate was always the barrier. So in 2018, I started managing Airbnb properties, which is how I kind of got dabbled in and introduced to the area of real estate. And yeah, prior to 2020, I was running operations for about 100 Airbnb listings here in the Bay Area across a few partners. So I would partner with people, I would run their operations. They would either own the home or they would lease the property to the rental arbitrage model. And that's actually how I got introduced kind of to the space. And then Kevin and I collaborated and built a operations company ourselves together. And that's how we got kind of, you know, dialed in together in real estate.
I love it. So a lot of times, have you guys ever read Rocket Fuel? Have you guys ever heard of that book?
I've heard of it, but
Okay.
I haven't.
I've heard of it. I have not read it. Yeah.
Okay. So how does your guys' partnership work? Like with you, a lot of times when I think of like partnerships and and you guys don't have to follow this necessarily, I think of like kind of like Steve Jobs and then Steve Wozniak, like coming to somebody who's more like CEO and a little bit more COO, like in the sense of like somebody who's more like operations guy versus somebody who's more, you know, visionary guy. That's kind of what the whole book is about how those two make like insanely good business partners. Do you guys feel like you follow that model, or do you guys more just both visionaries or both integrators, or what do you guys think? How do you guys partnership work?
I can answer that. You got a cool one?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So when we started Kinetic Real Estate, right? Obviously, it was like, you know, Juan wasn't in the picture yet, right? So, you know, a lot of trials and errors building the company, blah, 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 right? Well, first of all, first year in Kinetic Real Estate, it was all sales, right? It was 2 sales agents and 1 admin and me. So first year was just like gung ho, let's sell some properties, slang some properties left and right, blah, 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 you know, like go to listing appointments, buyers, showing homes, open houses, right? Marketing. And you know, we did decent, right? Helped 82 families. It's like, okay, it's pretty good, you know, for that, you know, small of a team, right? And within that time, you know, we brought on like a couple of other people as well, right, who are still with us in the company. And second year, which was last year, 2021, that was the second full year of Kinetic now, right? Starting in I think it was a calling again, right? As you know, what you said about being a visionary. It was a calling on me in January, like, you know what? I think we can expand this company. So let's give it a shot, you know? So I started structuring the company a little bit, right? Something I'm not really like my expertise, right? So while being a visionary, I was also integrating things at the same time, right? And when it hit like around March, April, you know, like that's when we hired like a business coach, right? And after that, I don't know.
What does the business coach do?
Business coach teaches how, you know, she only coaches a CEOs, right? And scale the business basically.
Okay.
Scale the business on how to make 10 figures on
Nice.
in a company, right? And I think it was just like what, you know, and as you search for things, right? As you know what your vision and what you're looking for, you started seeing the gaps in what you're missing. And me and Juan went to like this really expensive training in Arizona, to how to scale a business basically, right?
Nice.
With Grant Cardone or what's his name? Brandon Dawson.
Nice.
It's a 2-day training, really expensive. You know,
yeah, I bet.
yeah, it's that down payment of a house basically, just to go to that type of training, right? So, and from there, like I was able to convince Juan with my vision, I would say. I was telling him like, come on, dude, you'd be good at this, you know, even though you don't have a sales real estate license, I can see that he's a great partner that truly cares about people and the company, and we collaborated together. Okay, if
Oh,
he only dropped his really big opportunity that he has. Matter of fact, if I can disclose this one, he was offered to become a CEO of a company,
nice,
and he dropped out also to be with us, right?
nice.
With Kinetic, and shortly after that, I asked him to become president of the company. So in a way that visionary needs an integrator, basically, right? Without integrator, there's no how can you it's just really hard.
Yeah,
Actually,
no, I agree.
yeah, you need those two things, and I would say one is more of like integrator, but at the same time, me as a CEO, I kind of stepped down to that as well. One is kind of like doing the same thing now as me, kind of doing like the big roles and stuff, right? Because one told me to become a sales director for the company now, or directing sales now. It's like not gonna question it. I'm just gonna do it. He's the integrator.
Right.
Because once the vision is there, that's it. Like now we have to make that vision happen, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So Juan asked me, you should do direct sales. I was like, okay, let's do it.
Well, you're also partners, right? Like even if somebody's a visionary versus an integrator, those were the two terms I was curious if you knew about. I think that's from Rocket Fuel, but I was just curious which of you guys consider more of.
One would be more of an integrator.
Yeah, which is dope. Which is like how you build incredibly quick, like build businesses incredibly quickly. Like everybody that I've known who really clicks have that combo duo.
Yeah, we definitely need that. Yeah, so we're having the right people in the right seats. We're learning that. We have 7 people in our leadership group, kind of like the core members, and we kind of switch up our roles. One is like you're good at this, you're good at that. You should do this, you should do that, and it's working. I was like, holy shit,
Nice.
And I wouldn't have thought of that, because me, I'm just like, I just think of like that. I just see the light at the end of the tunnel, but the process and the gaps, somebody needs to fill that in. Yeah.
Visionary and integrator. That's what it is. Like 100%. I love it. That's pretty awesome. Like, honestly, like that's one of the things I've been thinking about is like, how do I get to the next step? Because I'm more like you, Kevin. I'm more visionary than integrator. And you need both. It's like super, it's super important. I'm curious just for my own sake. So I know you were talking about how you guys met, but I know you didn't instantly become partners. What did the quote unquote like dating process look like while you were like, did you beat some deals? Did you get like, how did you start like testing out whether it would be a good relationship or not?
This is going to sound so millennial, but I straight up just DM Kevin on Instagram. Like it is, it's funny that you say that because we were thinking about this recently. We were like, dude, how did you and like, end up here, and we just followed each other on Instagram after we met for the first time. And then I DM'd Kevin and I was just like, hey bro, let's meet. Let's see if we can do something together. And when we first sat down, we pretty much were talking about building Airbnb operations together and, being able to launch properties here in the Bay Area. That was like my expertise at the time. And then Kevin was like, oh, I've been thinking about doing that for the last like 2 years and never really found the right person to do it with. And and then we kind of went on a journey to search for our first property to be able to launch on Airbnb. And that's how kind of we kicked it off. And it actually took
for a property on Airbnb to Airbnb.
To Airbnb, yeah. Actually, I think that was probably like in the summer, and it took us a while. It took us a while to find our first property. I think it wasn't until like November. So, I mean, we were looking, but I mean, he was running his sales company. I was running my operations at the same time. So we were like open in conversation, but it wasn't, it didn't really happen like right away. But in between that, I mean, we would get, like we were still getting to know each other, et cetera. And then I think that in November, we ended up finding our first property. This is in 2000, I think like 19, actually, 2019. And that's what we started with. And it's crazy because we actually launched, in 2019, and then we started getting a few properties, and we started, growing, and COVID hit. March 2020 came around.
Yeah,
and
what happened with that with Airbnbs? What were you feeling like?
Yeah, so actually that was it. That's actually how we really got to know each other, in my opinion, is that we saw how we like went through that season, how we operated during that season. So something that I learned is like you truly find out someone's character when there's too much success, right? Or things are going south, right? Or in other words, you find out someone's true character when there's too much money or not enough money, right? So pretty much when March 2020 hit, for those of you that are familiar with Airbnb, they pretty much canceled all reservations and refunded every single guest 100%. Damn. So the host was pretty much given the short end of the stick, and we were given the task to figure out what to do, right? I mean, at this point, we were doing the rental arbitrage model. You're familiar with that. We were leasing properties, furnishing them, putting them on Airbnb, paying the rent, and then taking the profit, right? Which was doing really, really well before COVID. But when COVID hit, because all reservations were refunded, we pretty much carried the overhead, and we had all of these homeowners that we had promised that we were going to pay the rent, and we, didn't have any guests or any reservations. So at that time, this was, I think, beginning of around summertime of 2020, when COVID was still like very new, pandemic, shelter in place in California was incredibly strict. So we sat down, Kevin and I sat down, and we were like, okay, we have, tens of thousands of dollars a month in overhead. How do we cover this, right? Without having to default on any of our homeowners that we promised that we were going to pay the rent. So we thought, hey, what if we wholesale houses or flip some property? We've been thinking about doing this for a while. Like, let's give it a shot, right? So we actually, the same day that we had this idea, we called one of our friends, and he actually jumped here on the live earlier. I'm not sure he's on right now, but he's a wholesaler here in the Bay Area. His name's Jonathan Tang, and we gave him a call, and we said, hey, Jonathan, California cash buyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we gave him a call, and we were like, hey, we're thinking about wholesaling or flipping some houses. How do we start, right? And he said, let's meet up, So we literally met up with him, I think the same week or the following week. And long story short, we pretty much found our first property to flip within our first 3 weeks of saying that we were going to, do that. And I think that there's a lesson that I learned there, is that I've had this thought about wholesaling, about flipping homes, about all these different things. And it was always a great idea, but there was never a reason to go do it now, until we had all this overhead. And then we had to figure out how to come up with like a bigger, lump sum of cash. And that's kind of how we tripped into flipping houses and wholesaling properties.
Yeah, not to mention the pressure that it took us. And my other venture, we're down 6 figures, man, because we have 30 plus employees, dude.
Right.
Yeah, so just imagine like the pressure it brought. Like it really that shit brought the best, the craziest out of me.
So that's what I really wanted to get into. I told you guys this earlier, that a lot of this podcast, I mean, it's called Scorch the Fears, right? So the whole real point of it is to really talk and really get into like, how does one get through dealing with pressure, for instance, or like I'm going to start with that, and like getting into kind of mindset stuff you need to get into there. How does one deal with pressure? It's like, okay, we have overhead of 10K, the world's ending. What do you do? Like, how do you deal with all of the whatever anxiety, fear, whatever you want to call it?
I think Juan can better answer this, so I'm gonna start. I just think that just remember why you're doing what you're doing is one. Just remember why you're doing it, right? Everybody has their why, right? What is your, why could be like, I think you divide that into two, right? In 2 segments, your why. There's like a painful why, and what do you call that? Pleasure why, okay? Pleasure why is simple as like, I want a Lamborghini. I want to own 100 homes. I want a Aventador. I want I want a mansion, right? So it's like something that you want to achieve. That's what gives you energy to keep going, right? but you also need that painful why. You need it, actually, not one. You need to have that where it's like, if I don't do this, my family will be broke. I'm going to lose my house.
Right.
My kids wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to feed my kids. I wouldn't be able to, to do things for my parents. You need to have those two things, right? Pleasure and emotional why. And I think, like, when it comes to pressure, the painful why really, it's really like that's something that you really need to develop, and like what's gonna get you up from bed, because it's hard to get up in bed when shit hits the fan. Let's be real. When you're stressed out, like when
So
like
true.
there's so much things going on, and you're like, I have to pay. I have to sell something. We have to sell a house, or we have to do something to pay our employees, or some, for example, our office. We're not just talking like 5 figures. That we're talking six, dude. Like that's a lot for us, and considering we all came from nothing, like that's the money you worked hard for. So now it's like it's game on. Like, what is your why? And like, to be honest with you, I almost gave up on one of them.
Damn.
Like,
Right.
gave up, dude. Like, but you know what? We just kept going. But it's a painful why that really brought me up. Yeah, but that's the pressure. Diamond are diamonds are created under pressure. There's no
True.
pressure. There's no diamonds, right? Everybody needs that pressure in life. Like you can't be relaxed and making things happen. There's no such thing. And another thing I want to bring up too, like you can't really plan everything and execute it. Like there's no such thing as like fully planning things and executing it. Sometimes you just gotta do it. You just gotta.
It never goes according to plan, ever.
Good.
Not ever. Not anything you do in life. It just never will. If it's
It will
complicated.
never. Like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? Remember
Right.
Tyson said that? Like, dude, like I love that quote because it's true.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you plan, dude. Like the moment you step in there, like something, you're gonna get punched somewhere.
It's gonna
Not
happen.
literally, but like in business world, you will, and you're gonna have to pivot instead of panicking. But you will panic, at first, but later on, as you deal with issues, you're just gonna pivot so fast and adapt so fast, kind of like what Juan and I did with Airbnb, getting screwed by with the pandemic. We develop, we switch on right away. What do we need to do next to make up with that what we lost? Flipping, found it in 2 weeks after, bam, and we just keep going from there.
Love it. Juan, what do you think of that? How do you handle the pressure of something like that? Like when it's really struggling, when like, maybe the world's ending or it feels like the world's ending, whether literally or figuratively.
Yeah, I think my perspective on it now is that, when you're feeling pressure, it's actually supposed to develop something in you. I think that most people just see it as, man, can I survive? Or how can I just get through this? But in reality, it's what is it going to develop in you, right? Because if you're going through pressure, and I think that this is one of the things that I think about when people ask me, like, what business should I start first?
Mm-hmm.
I think that you should start any business, right? And the reason why is not because of the specific business that you should start, but who you're going to become, right, while building that business. Because if you're successful and you develop the habits of becoming successful, decision making, all of these different things in one business, you can actually go and implement it in another one, and you'll have a better chance of success because you've developed now the habits that it takes in order to run a successful business or be able to make decisions quick, take risk, all of these different things. I'm not saying obviously just go start whatever. What I am trying to say is that the pressure actually develops something in you that you later on have a different level of confidence of who you are. Because once you've gone through some pressure, now you know that, actually these are some of the mantras that I tell myself. Like when I'm going through something tough and it's hard, this is actually literally what I say to myself. Like, oh, cool, I do hard things.
Nice.
So I'm not surprised this is hard because this is exactly my job. Like my job is to do hard things.
Right? I like that.
For example, I'm working a late night, right? I'll give you an example. This Wednesday, I was up at like 6, you know what I mean? I had a bunch of meetings throughout the day. Actually, that was yesterday. Was yesterday Wednesday? Yes, that was yesterday. So I was up early, back late. I think I was on the phone with Kevin like at 10 p.m. I was like on my way home. So that was 6 a.m. to 10. I mean, it's like, I don't know, 16 plus hours, something like that. Right. But I actually never tell myself I'm tired.
I love it.
Literally, I don't say that out of my mouth. Like if you ever are around me, I'll never say I'm tired because I know that words are powerful. And it's not like to say that I don't get tired. It's just that I'll say things like, "Oh, I need rest," right? But I won't say I'm tired or little things like that. Or if it's like something that is a really painful thing to do, right? Like it's pressure in the way where like it's hard work, right? It's like the crappy work, you know, in something. And I'll say to myself things like, oh, this is exactly why they're going to pay me, right? Millions of dollars. They won't pay the other person that money because I'm willing to go through it. So I think it's like these little mantras that you get to develop by going through those moments of pressure. But don't get me wrong. I mean, like when we were going through that, like it was restless nights, right? Like
Yeah.
you lay in bed and you're just trying to think about how to figure it out. And I don't think it ever changes. I think it just becomes bigger problems, and you just have to come up with bigger solutions.
But you were talking about, I mean, that I love that, and I've thought about that so much, is how powerful words are. Like how powerful the word of what you literally say becomes reality every single time. I feel like this is like another example with me when I was like starting with cold calling. You know, when it was the worst was when I said, "Oh, this sucks. This is terrible. This is so boring." And then eventually, I'm like, you know what? It's gonna be a great day. I'm gonna get a deal. This is fun. This is. I just kept saying, "This is fun." And it kind of became more fun just by saying this is fun, which I mean, like that's an amazing little nugget for people. I feel like you're having a tough time, just say different words. It's amazing how that literally changes your mood. I think it can change reality in a lot of ways. Like I think it does. Like what we say becomes reality, and I really like that. Like I'm curious, so is the mantra, like is there any like specified program? Do you like say it a few times in your head, or do you just say it once until you start calming down, or what do you think?
Man, for me, it's just different. I have so many little things like that I probably develop and say in my head. I think I'm kind of a little crazy. I think I'm like super personal development though. Like I think I've been on a journey for like more than 10 years now of reading books, and like I've been to the Tony Robbins seminar. I've been to like Grant Cardone. I'm that guy, right? If there's personal growth events, if there's leadership books, like I'm all about that. So I don't know if I like somehow brainwash myself to kind of make myself say these things or repeat these things, but for me it works, right? For me it works, and I think that it's important because it's one of those things where you spend the most time with yourself. So if you're not encouraging and building yourself up, then no one else could, right? Because someone can say something to you during the day, and that can be like a 1 minute interaction. But the rest of the 23 hours and rest of the day, right, you're with yourself. So I think that that's like what's important is how do you develop a way of building yourself up, and then you become that for other people.
I love it. Kevin, how about you? Do you have any little meditations or anything like that to kind of calm you down when you're freaking out?
Gym.
Okay.
Trying to meditate. It's extremely hard for me.
You meditate extremely hard? Is that what you said?
No. It's extremely hard for me to meditate. I'm having a hard time
okay.
doing it.
I was just thinking about like, what does that even mean to meditate super hard, just like intensely,
That's
like
crazy.
trying to focus on your breath?
No, it's to me it's like I think my biggest break is just hitting the gym.
Okay.
Gym is like it just resets my head.
How often do you go to gym?
Every day.
Every day? Nice.
Yeah.
Is it like before? Is it like in the morning?
It's sporadic whenever I can. I break
Okay.
the clothes and stuff. Like even if I don't do much, even though I'm super sore, even though I'm super tired, I'll just go there. Even if I go to the sauna and do like 2 different sets of workout, that's still me going rather than you not going, right? It's kind of like, yeah, even if you don't do anything, I still went. But yeah,
I love it.
I'll say
I
yeah.
love it. That's a good one too. I mean, yeah, like that's a super important one. I'm trying to get more on that grind in the sense of like going to the gym every day instead of like I've been going every other day, and I've been doing the one for me is I started doing jujitsu, which has been super cool.
Ooh,
But yeah,
there you go.
but that's a fun one. Like 100% love it. So okay, Juan, if you could go back to yourself the first time you started a business, I'm gonna go that far back. Which for you, you were also like 18, right? When you started? I know Kevin said 18.
Yep. I was 18
Like,
years
if you
old.
could go back to 18-year-old Juan, what advice would you give him?
That's I think I've thought about this question, and I don't think I've ever come up with like a great answer.
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I think I would just let him know, like, believe in yourself much faster. And because I think one of the hardest things when I started, and I think that even now that I think that is like the most impactful, is like what you believe you can and cannot do, right? Based off of all the limitations that you have, or all the limitations that you grew up with, or all the limitations that other people put on you, or what people around you are doing, of what's normal and what's possible. And I think that when I was starting, I was hungry, and I just didn't really believe, though. I didn't really believe that I deserved it. I didn't believe that I was, capable, maybe. Like, there was always this seed of doubt that it took me a long time to kind of grow out of. Yeah, later on for me, I found for myself, right, that it was more of like a way of growing stronger spiritually for me. That kind of helped me get out of that. Like, that helped me grow out of the, like the whole I deserve it or I'm worthy, things like that.
Okay, I gotcha. Sorry, so you said it was through spirituality? Is that what you said?
I think it's just what I would tell myself was, when I was 18, what I would tell my younger self is believe much faster. Yeah, believe much faster and much bigger, sooner.
Gotcha. Like, so where does that come from? Like, when you were 18, what you said that you weren't thinking big enough, but like, what do you think might have happened if you had given yourself that advice? What do you think would have changed that would have helped?
I think what you do, my activity would have probably changed. I think that what I've noticed is a lot of people know all the right things to say. They might even know the equation on how to do it. They might even have like the formula, as you would call it. And there's a lot of coaches nowadays, right? Coaching for like so many things. You go to trainings, you go to coaches, you go to events, and a lot of people have a formula, right, of what you should be doing. I think the reason why people don't go all in is because of something internal, right? It's something along the lines like, man, I don't believe I can be successful, or I don't think that even if I do this, I would be effective. Or like you, right? Getting on a cold call and be like, dude, I'm calling this person, right? But I don't think I'm going to get a deal out of it, right? So I think you know what I mean? Like, you're doing the action, but you're not really believing that it's going to work for you.
Right.
So that's what I mean, right? Like, believing much faster, right? And thinking even bigger, faster, right? Like, going bigger, faster.
I love it. Kevin, how about you?
What's the question again?
So the question is, like, going back to your 18-year-old self, like when you're just starting to get into business, not necessarily real estate, because I think you both were doing different things before that also. But like when you were just starting in business, just starting your first business, if you could tell yourself, like, what would you tell yourself in your current state to your 18-year-old self, or whatever age that was?
It's a really good question. I think balance. Yeah, I think ever since I came here from from the Philippines, all I thought about is make money and work, right? Not like I'm hungry for money or like, right,
When did you come from the Philippines? What age?
Manila. Oh, like 14.
14? Okay.
Yeah, so I started working at the age of 15, right? 15 and a half already, right? And non-stop from there. Did 3 jobs at the age of 17, but I think balance, the emotional peace of mind, right? I would tell the old, I would tell the old Kevin, or from old Kevin to young Kevin, to balance your life. It's not just all about work, and trying to figure out, work.
Explain, what do you mean by balance to people who might not know what you mean?
So there's financial peace of mind and emotional peace of mind, right?
Gotcha.
So, and let's be real. All of us will be financially, we'll have that peace of mind financially. Let's be real, right? Doing what we're doing right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't really get that breakthrough and happiness in your life until you have that emotional peace of mind. I feel like emotional peace of mind is more powerful than financial peace of mind. And in order to get the true financial peace of mind where you're happy, you need to balance it with emotional peace of
Right.
mind. What is emotional peace of mind? Balance with family, spending time with them, taking off from work and spending it with your loved ones. You know, like
Why are we doing all of
quality
this?
time.
What was
Yeah.
the whole point of all of this?
Yeah, let's be real. Like since I was like 15, all I fucking did is work. Like, you know, like I know everything about work. Like, you know, like I know what hard work is. I know what smart work is. I know this. I know that. Like I know a lot of people doing work, but like all I realize is like I'm consumed with work. All my friends would tell me, take a break, take a break, take a break. I'm all like, no, you know, like are you crazy? Like I'm not gonna take a break. I need to hit my goal. Blah blah blah. Right. But little you know what they're trying to say is like, shit, like you need it. You need to balance your life. What's the point of working, right? What's the point of work? You know, what's the point of making all this money, right? Or whatnot? It may be too late. You know what they say? It's lonely on top, right? They say
Yeah.
that. And now I know what it means. You know, like I mean, you know, like now I know what they meant.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm still learning that. Of course, but it's gotten a lot better, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Way better, yeah. So that's what I would tell the young Kevin. Yeah.
What do you, because this is something I've noticed just easily, because especially I notice it because, you know, the difference between somebody who was born in America versus somebody who immigrated here, or even have the children of immigrants, but especially like an immigrant, somebody who immigrated here, they're just 10 times harder working. What do you think that is? Where do you think that comes from?
I think living in a third world country, you see, I think, shit, that's a good question. Yeah, Jonah, fucking like, you know, we have an
I'm
award.
the next Joe Rogan, dude. Come on,
we have
man.
an award ceremony after this. Like, we're gonna have to speak more and more till like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Like,
dude, as long as you guys want to talk and as long as we got stuff to talk about, we'll keep going. That's the cool thing about it being my podcast.
yeah,
I'll answer that, Jonah.
Yeah,
I'll answer that.
yeah.
I'll answer that. So my parents are Chinese immigrants. They both immigrated from China, went to Mexico.
That's why his name is Juan, guys. Even
correct.
though he's Asian. Just FYI.
I'm full Chinese with a name.
Fun
Juan.
fact, that's not a native Chinese name.
Yes, exactly. So I actually spent 10 years in Mexico, and you're 100% right. You're 100% right. I think that the reason for it is because they have something to compare it to. When I was living in Mexico, you know, I came to the US when I was 10. I came to the US when I was 10. However, I was still like going back and forth until I was 18, right? And you just see what true hard work is. I think we had a so I'm at the office right now, and I think one of the agents, maybe it was even Kevin. Maybe it was Kevin like 2 days ago. He's like, oh man, like I don't know. Someone said something along the lines like, oh man, we're working so hard. Right. I don't remember who it was. But I think Kevin was in the room. And I just laughed and I was like, this ain't hard, man. Like, dude, we're sitting here in front of $1,000 computer. Everyone got their cute little AirPods on. Like, we're talking to people. Like, this is not hard work, right? Hard work is, man, like the guy on the roof somewhere in the summer, you know, fixing someone's roof. Like, that's hard work, right? Or the guy in the middle of the freeway, like doing construction. Like, dude, that's hard work. Like, and I don't know. I think it's just you have something to compare it to. You know, truly, like my parents, right? They didn't have a choice but to work hard, right? They came here, didn't know the language, opened a restaurant, worked super hard, you know, open 7 days a week, 2 days off out of the entire year. I saw them do that for 20 years. Like, man, like that's hard work. Like what we do, you know, and you know, we can do it in luxury in a way. Like, I think that you have something to compare to. And I think that really differentiates like people that come here and they're like, wow, like this is an incredible opportunity versus if you've grown there in the environment, you're like, man, Like, why can't it be better? But you've never seen it any other way, right?
Right, because if you're in the Philippines or you're in Mexico or you're in China, like it's so much harder to make money in comparison to America. I feel like this is something that I feel like a lot of Americans forget is that like I was in the Peace Corps, nothing like what you guys like where you guys actually grew up in third world countries, but I lived in a third world country for a while. In the sense like I lived in the Dominican Republic in like a really small village, and it's just like if you're in a small village with barely any internet, like man, like there's just you're just starting at a type of zero that is impossible in America. And like I feel like at least from what I've like seen, because I've asked people who immigrants and have families who immigrated, and they said things that are similar. It's just like you have so much opportunity. How are you not going to take it in like America? So yeah. So this was also something I want to ask you, Juan. Kevin, I don't know if are you part of the same church as Juan? I know Juan is like a leader now. So this is just something also I've noticed, especially with, I don't know if it's with entrepreneurship in general or if it's just real estate, but a lot of people are pretty religious and also do real estate, which I can give my theory of to why that is, but I'll start because I'm interviewing you guys is like, Juan, how does your faith relate to your real estate business?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually tying into like what I shared earlier, right? Of, you know, something along like me feeling worthy and me, believing that I can.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that it's directly correlated. I think that one of the reasons why I am very, much committed to building my church and being super involved is because I'm growing spiritually and personally there to where I can apply it into what I do for work, right? So I'm I'm under the leadership of a pastor that is incredibly faithful. He moved here, sold his house with 3 young girls, and left his hometown with his wife, and came to the Bay Area to start a church. And 10 years later, it's a church called Vive Church, and there are 10 locations now after 10 years, and they've built like such incredible leadership and just incredible following, right? To the point where that's true leadership to me, where you can take someone from a volunteer, right? Someone that chooses to be there, and you help them produce something out of themselves. And you also, you know, get to build the church or build what you want out of it. Like it's a win-win situation. So I think it goes in direct correlation to what I do, at least, where I see the church building people, you know, focusing on leadership, different things like that. And I bring concepts from there to even, you know, building our real estate business.
What concept have you brought from there?
It's, man, I could go on and on, but like one of the things is it's so opposite, right? It's so opposite where like in the business world, it's all about like profits first, etc. Right? Where at the church, it's people first, right? So if you actually put people ahead of profits, you'll eventually build something significant, right? And like putting relationships first or things like that. I mean, I could probably go for like a long time talking about
Go
this.
on a little bit longer. We got a little bit of time. Tell me. So people first. When we do people first, what does that mean? What does it mean to put people first versus profit first?
Like if you are in about to make a decision, right? And you feel like in your gut it's fair to do it one way because it's more advantageous for you, right? You know, let's say I don't have a specific scenario, but based on like pretty much in big picture is like when you make decisions, put people first before the deal or the transaction.
Mm.
Like this is my philosophy, I'd rather lose a little bit of money, right? However, retain the relationship rather than make a little bit more money and lose a relationship. Right. And I think a lot of the times in business, especially in real estate, it's a very cutthroat kind of like industry where people lose sight of that they're so, you know, into the deal and like what I've done and how much work I've put in right? That sometimes they lose the sight of why we're really in it, right?
Right.
We're in it to, help the family. We're in it to, support each other. Like, I'd rather walk away from it saying like, wow, like that was a very different way that was handled compared to every single other business relationship I've had, because then that way I can actually live my life according to what I believe.
I love it. I love it. Cool. So I'm gonna bring it back to you, Kevin, for a second. So, because I know even if you're not part of like his church or whatever, I know you're both on the same journey of personal development, right? Like I can tell, I already know there's no way you're building these companies unless you as a human being are able to progress yourself and like be able to make the next steps so that not only is it better for you, but you're able to actually lead people. So I'm going to bring it to you because I know you're like you do this really well. What makes somebody a good leader versus an okay leader?
Sorry if you hear background, because we have to leave pretty soon for the ceremony.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got 15 more minutes?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay.
Maybe like 5. Is that okay?
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Because Juan has to go too. Yes, and I don't think he's not even dressed up yet.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I think great people is all right. It sounds a little bit cliche, but hear me out on this. I think a good leader knows their own strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
But a great leader knows everyone's strengths and weaknesses.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that's I've been trying to figure out how to explain things. Like I feel like there's so much things that we know, but it's very hard to
vocalize.
Very hard to vocal something in a very most efficient and fastest way. Like somebody can just explain it, and somebody can just say like one quote that's like, okay, that's what it means. Yeah. I think in a grand scheme, like that's basically what it is. Meaning that to be a great leader, you gotta know everyone's like what they like to do, what their strengths is, what their goal, whatever they want to achieve in life, and whatever seat that they want to be at, and you position them there. That's what a great leader is, and that's where a lot of trials and errors, co-founding many companies, and I hope that explains it a little bit.
No, it does. It does. I really like it. I mean, it's something. These are just. I ask the questions that I'm thinking about right now because I'm starting to build out my team, right? And like being like, okay, how do I provide resources for them? How do I become a better man so that they're able to get what they need from me in order to make this business like work forward? So no, it makes a lot of sense. I really like that answer, 100%.
Thank you. Another thing too is once you're in business long enough of recruiting and like building teams, building companies, it takes less than a minute to know if somebody has what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
You can just tell immediately, like that's a salesperson, that's an admin, like that type of stuff.
Yeah, something like that, or somebody that that can contribute, or somebody like, oh wow, like what they say, right? You got to sponsor your weakness.
Gotcha. I like it.
It's like bring your weakness, right? If you don't want to do something like in a company, but it's needed, bring somebody who's good at it, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what Steve Jobs did, right?
Yeah. 100%.
He just brought on the right people in the right seat in the right spot. That's how company was built.
Right.
But he's called a genius, but he's not the brains.
I love it.
He's just a visionary.
Exactly. So if you guys have to go, then this is going to be my final question is what you would say. I mean, this is similar. This might be the same answer. And if you tell me it's the same answer, I'll just ask a different question. But because I know there are guys, there's got to be like 18-year-old guys or guys who are like really thinking about going into this, who are hungry, but they're like scared of what's going to happen and like what's going to happen to them. And I'm curious, would you just say the same thing you'd say to your 18-year-old self? I guess it would be the same thing, right? Basically. Like if like a young kid comes to you and is like, hey, you know, I really am interested in this, but I'm really afraid of failure. You know what? Here's a better question. This is going to be my last question. Do you guys have any fears you think you have right now that might be holding you back at all? Or any mindset issues you can think of?
Currently, fears?
Yeah. You can say no. I just like asking.
I can't think of anything at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because for me, like what I'm getting to now is I'm starting to get a little bit. I'm starting to get a little bit of fear of that success, of like being like, okay, I know I'm going to be successful, but like, am I going to be able to handle it? Am I going to like become an a-hole and like just start buying jets and popping bottles with girls and stuff like that? You know, right? Like in the sense of like what I might become if I become successful. It's okay. I'm just curious if you guys have any still. If you don't have to worry about this question. I got another one too.
Yeah, I could share. You know, in regards to what you just mentioned there, Jonah, I think I could relate. I think what I found though is like, you are who you are with money or without money, right? Like you already are who you are as a, you know, who you are as a person, your character and everything. Money just amplifies it. So if you're a good person, you have money, you're just gonna be a good person in a greater level. If you're a douchebag and like you're, you know, a bad person and like you do bad things, you add money to it and you just amplify that.
Right.
So I don't think money really changes people. It amplifies who they really are. But a fear, I think that I don't know if it's a fear, but I think that's something that kind of doesn't help me, but helps me as well, is the idea that my parents are getting older.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a big challenge for me because although I know that it takes patience for success and all these different things, there's so many things that I want to do for them and that I want to have them see me accomplish, and, you know, being able to provide for them in different ways that, to me, it almost feels like the time is ticking in a way, and then I'm not getting there fast enough. It's like a battle, right? Of like what drives me, but at the same time is something that is, you know what I mean? Like I when I rest, right, I don't rest easy because I'm like, okay, like I don't know if that's a fear, but it's more of something
Motivator.
Yeah, it's a motivator, but at the same time, somewhat of a fear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's that pressure. I got
Mhm.
it. So I'm gonna let you guys go because you guys obviously have something to do. But before I do, favorite mindset book for the audience. What's your guys' favorite mindset book?
Mindset or just book overall?
We can do book overall. Extra bonus points if it's a mindset book.
Definitely Traction.
Traction?
Shit, man. That thing.
Traction. I don't know if I've heard of that one. I'll write that down.
That is like, God, dude. That thing is crazy, actually. It's like, it's, I don't know who, I don't understand how people create really good books, but that one really spoke to me.
How about
like, if I read Traction and mastered Traction, well, it's hindsight, right? But I'm just saying, if I was like, you know, if I were to tell an 18-year-old Kevin to read Traction and master Traction, I think.
What is it about?
It's how to get a grip in your business, right? That's what they say, right? It's basically like putting people in the right seats, you know, teaching about like if this person is right for you or not. And it is just understanding like how business works, like how to build companies, like how to like, I don't know, man. Juan will be able to explain. Like,
we're actually reading it together. We have this that we do at our office where we do a book club and we meet once a week and we kind of chat through chapters. But yeah, it's pretty much a scaling a business. Like all the things that you need in order to scale like a full on operations. And yeah, that's a super solid one. Man, I don't think I have a favorite one, bro. I'm gonna give you a few that I feel like I've taken the most out of. Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book that changed my perspective, that I needed to learn more. There was so much more out there. And I didn't want to commit my life to a 9-to-5 or working a job. Think and Grow Rich was great for like general mindset. I mean, they say it's created the most millionaires. How to Win Friends and Influence People on
classics. These are the classics.
Getting to know people, talking to people. One that was recommended to me by a very successful president of a company was Crucial Conversations.
What's that about?
Pretty much about how to manage a conversation when it's a lot of high stakes involved. It's a really, really good book about like even how to communicate in a really high intense scenario. I have so many, man. Like John Maxwell, I have a bunch. Like, dude, like that's actually, yeah. If you go to my house, that's probably like
got a library.
That's what I spent the most money on. Like, I'm not even kidding. So, yeah.
Love it.
I gotta get going.
All right, guys. So where should they follow you? Where do the people follow you? What are you promoting? What are we selling? This is like your chance to leave them with something, follow you on Instagram. What are we doing? How do the people reach you if they want to get in contact? Or do you not want them to be in contact with you ever?
Reach out on the Bay Area Realtor. That's my Instagram tag. Thank you, everyone.
At the Bay Area Realtor.
Yeah.
Yep. And then mine is at Juan, which is my last name, RUAN.dynasty. That's my username on Instagram. I'm mainly most active on there for social media.
Okay, great. So hit them up on Instagram, spam the hell out of them just because I think it would be funny. No, I'm kidding. Hit them up if like you have questions, follow them. They have really cool content. Kevin's doing some good TikToks. I've been watching them. They're good. They're good, dude. I love them. Guys, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for coming on the podcast. That is episode 8, fam. We're out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.